Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming back. Um, this is our third and final session. And before we go together on this ride, just wanted to take care of a few things. It's a real honor to be here. And first of all, I wanted to thank Sarge for inviting me to be a host. And secondly, I was hoping we could give a round of applause to our um, my excellent co-hosts, Audrey Wong and Eric Booker. Please give them a round. So you can't see them, but I can feel them on the stage. They left very big shoes for me to fill. Before we jump into the talks, I just wanted to thank the previous second session speakers because hopefully, as you know, with me, many of their talks just really hit home on an intellectual and personal level. Specifically, I was in the audience. I was nudging my wife when Alec Ross gave the analogy of putting the air mask on your face first before you take care of your children. Because I often joke around with my wife when we get like hot pizza delivered to our house that I'm often stuffing my face first before my kids, and I often bring up that airline analogy, like, hey, I gotta. Anyway, you know. I was just like shocked that anybody else in the world had thought of that. And Alec, I don't know you yet, but let's connect. There were a lot of personal stories that hit home personally in the second session in the Urban. I've lived in Baltimore for 15 years, and I was a reporter at the Baltimore Sun, and I actually covered crime and homicides. I was the first guy to put homicide victims into an Excel database at the Sun. And one of the things, this was back in like 2005, and I remember thinking at the time as I was going out into the streets and talking to victims of crime and homicide, that I would just get back to my car and sometimes I would weep. It was so emotionally affecting. And after months and months of doing this, I just thought, there are so many people suffering from PTSD in the city. They need real mental health, children, elderly people, people in the prime of their lives. And I remember thinking that 10, 11, 12 years ago, and we're able to talk about this now on a public stage. And I feel like even though 2015 was such a tough year for Baltimore, I feel like we actually overcame a lot of hurdles. And I find that a big reason for that is social media and people willing to talk about their personal stories in ways that cannot be denied anymore. And I have a background in not only journalism, but social media, and I see the power in that. And I encourage us all to embrace it and raise our voices together in the world. Which brings us now to the human. What does that mean? We talked about the future, we talked about the urban, and now we talk about the human. And there were elements of the human in the previous two sessions. I love the astrophysicist who talked about we are stardust and how that made me feel so empowered, so strong, so powerful, and yet also just a bit of cosmic dust in this universe. And I think, in this upcoming session, you're going to feel and you're going to hear these human stories of people who've overcome. They're going to be provoking stories, humorous stories, personal stories, and artistic insights into what it means to be human. With our upcoming speaker, she's going to be talking about the issue of reproductive rights. It's been a hot button issue for decades. It's a debate that's far from settled. Reproductive rights are coming up in the presidential campaign, Supreme Court decisions, Supreme Court cases. It's far from settled. And our next speaker, Jessica Waters, has spent much of her career working in the area of reproductive rights law. She is an attorney, researcher, and educator, serving as Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education at American University's School of Public Affairs. Her recent work has explored questions related to the legal impact of women's medical decisions during pregnancy and childbirth, employment-based conscience protections for reproductive health care providers and the reproductive rights of employees working for religiously affiliated employers. Her work has been published in the Harvard Journal of Law and Gender, the American University Journal of Gender, Social Policy and the Law, the Yale Journal of Law and Feminism, and the Stanford Journal of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Jessica Waters to the TEDx Baltimore stage. Thank you.